Welcome back. I'm Melissa Harris Perry. 133 days. It's been 133 days since the President of the United States said this.
I couldn't be prouder that today I can announce somebody who shares that fierce commitment to equal justice under the law as my nominee for the next Attorney General, U.S. Attorney Lauretta Lynch. It's pretty hard to be more qualified for this job than Lauretta. She has spent years in the trenches as a prosecutor, aggressively fighting terrorism, financial fraud, cybercrime, all while vigorously defending civil rights.
That was November 8th, 2014, 133 days ago. Since then, a lot has happened. The St. Louis County grand jury chose not to indict Officer Darren Wilson, and outrage gripped the people of Ferguson. A Staten Island grand jury decided not to indict the police officers involved in the death of Eric Garner, and protesters shut down the streets of New York City. Across the country, a nascent movement of those with hands up explaining they could not breathe, dying in and declaring Black Lives Matter, demanded our attention and shaped our discourse. 2 officers were senselessly murdered in Brooklyn, and the city's police turned their back on the mayor. Lauretta Lynch, she waited to be confirmed. We celebrated Thanksgiving, Hanukkah, Christmas, Kwanzaa. We even rang in the new year. The 114th Congress started and brought with it a historic proportion of women and people of color as legislators. The world mourned with Paris in the wake of the Charlie Hebdo massacre, and the courts expanded marriage. We debated deflated footballs, lobbied for our favorite movies, endured what seemed like endless winter, and finally got to see the Apple Watch. The Department of Justice released a scathing report outlining racial injustices in Ferguson and announced a plan to make change in police departments across the country. Lauretta Lynch waited to be confirmed. 2 weeks ago, the nation remembered the transformational courage of the civil rights foot soldiers who dared to cross the Edmund Pettus Bridge. And for those who had come to Selma, Lauretta Lynch's waiting did not go unnoticed.
Call your United States senators and tell them that they must confirm the first African-American woman attorney general.
So how did we get here? I mean, when the president nominated Lynch just days after the 2014 midterms, most commentators could barely fathom a controversy. She has a Harvard law education, decades of experience, and an unassailed reputation. During her confirmation hearing, she had one especially valuable characteristic, given the current AG's icy relationship with Congress.
Let me just stipulate, you're not Eric Holder, are you?
No, I'm not, sir.
But despite assurances that she is not Eric Holder, Lauretta Lynch is still waiting 133 days after being nominated. What is the holdup? Mitch McConnell announced Sunday that he would not schedule the vote until the Senate passed the Justice for Victims of Trafficking Act. On the face of it, that doesn't necessarily sound like it's going to be very difficult, except that Republicans stacked the bill with anti-abortion language the Democrats oppose. The bill calls for anyone convicted of human trafficking to pay into a restitution fund for their victims. But money in that fund cannot be used to pay for abortions, except in cases of rape or incest or in the life of the woman is in danger. Language like this is actually largely fairly standard in these annual spending bills. The problem here is about precedent. Democrats worry that including this language in a bill that does not have to be reauthorized each year could lead to more abortion restrictions in the future. So at the moment, no compromise looks particularly likely. Meanwhile, Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell is expected to turn to a debate on the budget next week. And then the Senate goes on spring break. That means the Lauretta Lynch vote could easily have to wait until at least mid-April. The whole thing has gotten so maddening that President Obama weighed in on it on day 132.
You don't hold attorney general nominees hostage for other issues. This is our top law enforcement office. Nobody denies that she's well qualified. We need to go ahead and get her done.
Joining me now, Kai Wright, features editor of The Nation, Sabrina Siddiqui, who is political reporter for The Guardian, Alfonso Aguilar, who is executive director of the American Principles Project's Latino Partnership, and Vince Warren, executive director at the Center for Constitutional Rights. Vince, what is going on?
This is crazy. As you laid out, holding the chief law position in the country during the time when we have one of the emerging issues that we have now is the state of race relations with the police department, where we have police officers are getting shot, protesters are getting tear gassed. This is going back to the 1960s, and to hold this particular position hostage at this time is a tremendous problem. It's a tremendous problem.
Guess who agrees with you? Rudy Giuliani. Now, I mean, there are not going to be a lot of times I'm going to be able to look at you, Vince Warren, over the Nerdland table and be like, you and Rudy Giuliani are down with each other. He wrote, my interpretation has always been that a president should be given the deference to choose his cabinet unless the nominee is unqualified to do the job, has a history of unethical behavior, or is so ideologically rigid as to be incapable of making rational choices in the public interest. None of these disqualifiers apply here. If this is not about Lauretta Lynch, if no one thinks that this is about her, is this at all a reasonable way for Republicans in the Senate to be behaving?
Look, sadly, the relationship between the executive and the legislative branch is in shambles. The president has a terrible relationship with Congress, with the Senate, and I think this is one of the reasons why this is taking so long. I would say, to clarify, because Senator Durbin and others have implied that somehow race is part of this issue, that's the worst kind of race baiting, of racial identity politics.
I want to pause you right there just because I want to play it. In case folks haven't heard it, let's have them listen to what you're talking about. So this is Durbin, and then we'll listen to McCain right behind him making a point that's on the same issue.
And so, Lauretta Lynch, the first African-American woman nominated to be Attorney General, is asked to sit in the back of the bus when it comes to the Senate calendar. That is unfair. It's unjust.
Beneath the decorum and dignity of the United States Senate, I would say to the senator from Illinois, is for him to come to this floor and use that imagery and suggest that racist tactics are being employed to delay Ms. Lynch's confirmation vote. Such inflammatory rhetoric has no place in this body and serves no purpose. It was offensive and unnecessary, and I think he owes this body, Ms. Lynch, and all Americans an apology.
And I agree with Senator McCain. I mean, when Senator Durbin voted against Condoleezza Rice for Secretary of State, was he being racist? Of course not. It's ridiculous to imply that. Look, Mitch McConnell has said that the next issue after the human trafficking bill they're going to deal with is the confirmation of Lauretta Lynch. She will be confirmed. The only reason why this is taking so long at this point in time is because the Democrats are intent in subverting the consensus policy that we've had with the Hyde Amendment of the federal government not providing funding to abortions. It's radical abortion tactics, if anything, that are holding up Lauretta Lynch's confirmation.
So the idea, I wanted to give you your full say on that. I know that is the line, but I will say the idea that radical abortion tactics, which, first of all, I think is we are not in a consensus place with the Hyde Amendment. The Hyde Amendment is simply the position that has become the de facto position, but that does not at all make it consensus. That said, when we look at Janet Rito, 29 days, Alberto Gonzalez, 86 days, Eric Holder, who they really do not like, 64 days, and Lauretta Lynch at 133 and counting. The idea that something that has nothing to do with her job, not one single thing to do with her qualifications, would be associated with it does seem to me like a malpractice happening.
And we were how many days into this when the Hyde Amendment became the issue?
Yes.
Before that, which I think is probably still the core issue, is immigration.
Yeah.
And they still want to use Lauretta Lynch to beat the president up on his executive order. And, I would just once like to see Republicans as outraged about race and racism when it comes up in our many plays as they are when Democrats bring it up.
And I do think that immigration is still at the core of this, and it goes back to Alfonso's point about just how poor the relationship is between the executive and the legislative branch. And this is another opportunity for Republicans to rebuke the president's executive action on immigration. Conservatives were particularly outraged in the hearing when Lauretta Lynch did defend those actions, as you would expect her to do, of course, being a potential appointee in the Obama administration, but it mounted a lot of outside conservative opposition. Obviously, a lot of the hard right commentary has also been against her nomination. I think this delay buys Republican leaders some more time to maybe peel off some of the support that she does have.
Right. Okay. Right. And so
topple her nomination.
And I think this is in part why we have to be very careful about how we understand how race is operating here.
Yeah.
What I do think is absolutely sort of almost ludicrous is to suggest they don't want a black attorney general. They have a black attorney general, right? Like, and in fact, one they again really don't like. And so all that this does is sort of keep Eric Holder in office. But that doesn't mean it's not about race in these other kinds of ways, which is to say that talking about it around issues of immigration is to look at this as a structural. I promise. We're going to take a break. We're going to come back. We have more to say.